Have you noticed it? Your wife seems different. She's not as warm, not as patient. She snaps more easily. She sits quietly at dinner, her mind somewhere else. The same woman who spent decades caring for you, holding the family together, now seems angry, distant, disconnected. And if you're a woman watching this, you may not even recognize yourself anymore. You used to brush things off, smile through the small stuff. Now, everything he does, the way he clears his throat, the way he talks over you, the way he assumes you'll handle it all, sets something off deep inside. You're not alone, and you're not imagining it. In the last 10 years, divorce rates among couples over 70 have quietly tripled. Not because of betrayal or crisis, but because of something far more invisible. Something that's been building for 40 or 50 years, and only now has the space to surface. Here's the heartbreaking part. Most of these marriages could be saved, but only if we're willing to talk about what's really happening. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden emotional shift happening in millions of marriages after 70, and why so many men never see it coming. You'll discover the silent resentments that build up over decades, the blind spots that keep husbands from truly seeing their wives, and the two simple actions that could start to heal what feels broken. If you've been married 30, 40, even 60 years, this message might change everything. Whether you're a husband who's suddenly confused or a wife who's finally too tired to pretend, this is for you. Let's get something clear right from the start. This isn't about anger. It's about awakening. What looks like bitterness, what sounds like nagging, what feels like coldness or distance, isn't a sign that she stopped loving you. It's a sign she's starting to remember herself. For decades, she was everything for everyone. She was the one holding the calendar, the house, the birthdays, the quiet emotional pulse of the family. She adjusted, she sacrificed, she made space, over and over again. But then the house got quiet. The kids grew up, the career chapters ended, the social obligations slowed down. And for the first time in 40 or 50 years, she heard her own voice again. Not as someone's wife, not as the mother or the daughter or the host or the caretaker, just her. It's called identity reclamation, and it's one of the most powerful and misunderstood transitions a woman can go through in her 70s. Think of it like this. Imagine wearing a heavy coat every single day for 5 decades. You hardly noticed it anymore. It was part of you. But one day you realize you can finally take it off. That coat, that was her role. The caregiver, the smoother hat, the emotional anchor. And now she's setting it down. Not because she's cruel, but because she's finally allowed to breathe. Meanwhile, her husband's world hasn't shifted the same way. He still expects the routines they've always had, dinner at the same time, the calendar taken care of, the small kindnesses she used to give without being asked. But those little things came at a cost. A cost she didn't even let herself feel until now. Now the silence in the house reveals it. The years spent swallowing her own needs, the small comments she ignored, the exhaustion she brushed aside to keep the peace. Now, she sees it all, and she's tired of pretending. This is the moment so many men miss. They think she's suddenly changed, that something's wrong with her. But the truth is, this is who she's always been underneath. It's just that now she finally feels safe enough and old enough to stop hiding it. And no, she's not looking for a fight. She's looking for peace, her kind of peace. That might mean fewer social events. It might mean saying no more often. It might mean choosing solitude over small talk or journaling over joint errands. She's not punishing anyone. She's finally choosing herself. And here's the part that can feel painful. While she's awakening, he might be unraveling. Retirement often strips men of the identity they built through work. Suddenly, the job is gone. The purpose is foggy. And the wife he once counted on as his soft landing now seems distant, maybe even cold. But she's not cold. She's careful. She's clearer. She's choosing peace over pretense. And sometimes peace means no longer doing the emotional lifting that's gone unnoticed for decades. This shift doesn't have to end a marriage, but it will challenge it, because it demands something many couples have never been taught to do. See each other as evolving people, not fixed roles. She is not who she was at 30, and truth be told, neither are you. The question is, can you see that as an invitation to grow together, instead of a sign that you're growing apart? Because the marriages that survive this shift are the ones that stop asking, why is she so different now, and start asking, who is she becoming, and how can I meet her there? But to truly understand who she's becoming, you first have to understand what she's been holding in, silently, for decades. The 4 resentments she never spoke about, until now. 1. The emotional atlas. She carried everyone's emotions for 50 years. Every sigh, every birthday, every shift in the mood of the house, she noticed it before anyone else. When the kids had a rough day, she soothed them. When her husband came home stressed, she buffered the tension. If there was a problem with her in-laws, she smoothed it over. She remembered anniversaries for both sides of the family, scheduled doctor visits called the grandchildren, sent sympathy cards, kept track of which nephew was graduating and which cousin was recovering from surgery. She didn't just manage the calendar. She managed the emotional climate. And for decades, that labor was invisible. No one handed her an award for being the family glue. No one paused dinner to say, thank you for making sure we all felt safe, loved, and held together. But now, in her 70s, something inside her says, I can't hold this all anymore. The emotional weight she carried for everyone else has left her tired in ways no one ever sees. And when her husband looks at her now and says, what's wrong? She wants to scream, everything, but you never noticed it piling up until I stopped holding it for you. She was the reason the family stayed connected and the one who quietly paid the emotional cost. 2. The shadow CEO. She ran the home while he assumed it ran itself. From the outside, she was just a housewife. But anyone who's ever managed a family knows it's more like running a business. She was the CEO of daily life. She tracked bills, managed meals, handled school forms, made sure there was toilet paper in the house and a clean towel for every guest. She juggled numbers, logistics, and chaos without a team, without pay, and often without thanks. Her husband would sometimes say, just tell me what you need me to do, as if helping was a favor, not a shared responsibility. He'd offer to help with dinner, but never thought about meal planning, grocery budgeting, or what was running low. He'd ask, what's the Wi-Fi password again? Because she set it up and kept track of the 100 other little things that made their life function. She doesn't hate him for it, but now, in her 70s, she sees the truth clearly. She was never supported in running the home. She was the system. She kept it humming while he got to focus on one job. She did a dozen, and still felt guilty when she asked for help. Now when he asks, what's for dinner, it doesn't feel like a question, it feels like a trigger. He thought the house ran on love and routine. She knew it ran on her, quietly, constantly, and without pause. Or 3, the shelf dream. Her passions were always postponed. When she was in her 20s, she wanted to open a small flower shop. In her 30s, she dreamed of going back to school to study history. In her 40s, she imagined writing a book or starting a pottery class. There was always something calling to her, whispering, there's more inside you than this role. But life kept getting in the way. The kids needed her. His job relocated them. The finances were tight. Her time was always flexible, because someone had to be. She told herself there would be time later. After the children were older, after the mortgage was paid, after retirement. Now it is later. And the dreams are still sitting on the shelf, collecting dust like the books she never got to write. She scrolls social media and sees old classmates who pursued their passions. Women who traveled, painted, studied, or launched second careers. And though she's proud of the life she built, she sometimes wonders, what would I have become if I hadn't put everyone else first? The resentment isn't about blame. It's about grief. Because when she looks at her husband now, she remembers how often she said, it's okay, I'll stay back, so he could move forward. He got the promotion. She got the pause button, and now she's left wondering if there's still time to press play again. 4. The retirement invasion. Her peace is suddenly micromanaged. For decades he was gone most of the day, off to work, focused on his world. She had her rhythms, her space, her way of running the home. She had a quiet routine, laundry folded just right, groceries put away a certain way, silence in the afternoon when the light hit the kitchen just so. Then retirement came. And everything changed. Now he's home, all the time, and suddenly he has opinions about how the dishwasher should be loaded, about the way she organizes the pantry, about when she runs errands or how she budgets for groceries. It's not that he means harm, he thinks he's helping. But to her, it feels like surveillance. It feels like a quiet invasion of the one space she used to rule. Worse, he seems lost. He expects her to entertain him, include him, keep the days full. He follows her around, interrupts her solitude, asks, "What are we doing today?" as if she's his personal cruise director. She doesn't hate him, but she deeply resents the loss of the only freedom she had carved out for herself. She spent years earning this peace. Now, instead of enjoying it, she has to defend it. She gave him the best years of her life. She just wanted these years for herself. These resentments aren't loud. They're not shouted across dinner tables. They're quiet, heavy, cumulative, and they're often buried under decades of smiles, service, and sacrifice. But now, they're rising to the surface, not because she wants to fight, but because she's finally too tired to hold them in. If her husband feels blindsided by her anger, it's because he never saw the silent cost of her cooperation. He saw a happy home. She remembers the effort it took to keep it that way. And the real tragedy isn't that she feels these resentments now. It's that she felt them all along, and no one ever asked. She never said these resentments out loud. She couldn't. The world didn't give her permission, and most marriages never built the space for that kind of honesty. But now that they're finally surfacing, there's something else you need to know. Most husbands are not cruel. They're not selfish. They're not intentionally dismissive. They simply don't see what's happening. And not because they don't care, but because they've never been shown how. So let's talk about the 3 biggest blind spots that keep so many men stuck and leave their wives feeling more alone than ever. 1. She's not rejecting you. She's remembering herself. This is what he sees. She stopped making his morning coffee. She doesn't sit as close on the couch. She seems to need more time alone. It feels like rejection. This is what she feels. For the first time in decades, she's listening to what she wants, and she's realizing how many of her daily habits were about keeping others happy, not herself. When she doesn't rush to meet your needs like she used to, it's not about punishment. It's about presence. She's finally present in her own life. She's not forgetting you. She's finally including herself. Reframe it like this. She's not pulling away. She's coming back to herself. And if you can let go of the version of her that existed only to make your life easier, you might just get to meet the version of her that's fully alive. 2. Your help feels like surveillance. He sees. He's finally stepping up around the house, reorganizing the pantry, helping fold laundry, suggesting a better system for finances. He thinks he's being useful. She feels he's poking around in the one world she managed quietly and skillfully for decades. And now, it feels like he's second-guessing every decision she's ever made. For years, she was in charge of the day-to-day, not because she wanted to control it, but because she was good at it. Now he's retired, and suddenly he has ideas. Ideas that sound a lot like criticism. He doesn't mean to offend. But the truth is, when he offers suggestions, it often sounds like, "I would have done this better." She doesn't want him to fix her systems. She wants him to respect them. Reframe it like this. She doesn't need your improvements. She needs your recognition. The question isn't, "What can I do better?" It's, "Can you show me how you've kept this running all these years?" 3. What felt like love at 30 doesn't work at 70. He sees. He's still doing what he always did to show love, providing, fixing things around the house, staying out of her way when she seems upset. He figures if it worked before, it should still work now. She feels he doesn't see her anymore. He's loving a version of her that no longer exists. At 30, she felt loved when you worked hard and brought home a steady paycheck. She appreciated the way you took charge and made decisions. But at 70, she doesn't want a provider. She wants a partner. Someone who asks about her thoughts. Someone who listens, even when she's quiet. Someone who says, "What do you need today?" Not, "I figured you had it handled." It's not that the love is gone, it's that it needs a new language. Reframe it like this. Love in later life is less about roles and more about recognition. She wants to feel seen as she is today, not as the woman who used to pack lunches or make the phone calls. These aren't criticisms, they're invitations. She's not asking you to become someone new. She's asking you to notice that she's becoming someone new. and to care enough to get to know her again. That means letting go of assumptions. That means asking questions you've never asked before. That means seeing her not through the lens of routine, but through the lens of curiosity. You don't need to fix her. You need to witness her. And that one shift, if you're brave enough to make it, could change everything. But even witnessing her isn't enough if the world around you still runs on the old rules. Because once the emotional patterns begin to shift, something else happens too. The entire structure of daily life starts to tilt. And for many couples, it begins the day retirement begins. The retirement reset, when the marriage stops running on autopilot. You don't need to fix her. You need to meet her, right where she is now. But even witnessing someone isn't enough when the entire structure of your life together has changed. Because after all the inner shifts, the emotional reawakening, the quiet resentments, the blind spots finally being seen, there's something else couples often forget to address. The actual day-to-day rhythm of life has changed too. Before retirement, life had structure, predictable lanes. He left early, worked long hours, and came home to a world she quietly managed. She had space during the day. She knew the flow. Their responsibilities were separate, even if unspoken. The system ran smoothly, not because it was perfect, but because it was familiar. Then one day it stopped. Now both of them are home, all the time, sharing the same space, the same air, the same hours, but with completely different expectations of what that should feel like. And things start to unravel in quiet, confusing ways. He's adjusting to the loss of professional identity. He's searching for purpose, often without realizing it. She's adjusting too, not to a loss, but to a long-awaited freedom she's not willing to give up. She spent decades making space for everyone else. Retirement was supposed to finally be her time, but now he's in her space, offering to help, suggesting changes, following her around. Not because he's controlling, but because he doesn't know where else to put his energy. It's like two conductors trying to lead the same orchestra at once. Each has their own sense of timing. Each thinks they're helping, but the music begins to clash. Not because they're bad musicians, but because they're reading from two different sheets. This is the part no one prepares couples for. Retirement doesn't just change your calendar, it flips the emotional structure of the marriage. What used to just work now needs to be talked about, openly, honestly, and often. And here's what matters most. This isn't a failure, it's a life transition, one that requires new agreements, new habits, and a new kind of attention. You don't need a complete overhaul to reconnect. What you need are small, intentional actions that speak directly to what's been missing. Because even the most profound shifts in a marriage can start to heal with something as simple as a sentence spoken in the morning or a question asked at dinner. Let's talk about what that looks like. You don't need grand gestures. You don't need to be someone you're not. You just need to do two small things every day with honesty and intention. These aren't about fixing the past. They're about showing up differently now. 1. The appreciation reset. Every morning, tell her one thing you appreciate about who she is, not just what she does. Not thanks for folding the laundry, or thanks for making dinner. Say something real, something human. I love how curious you are about the world. I noticed how calm you stayed when things got stressful yesterday. You always make the house feel warm, not just clean. This kind of appreciation speaks to the part of her that's longed to be seen, not for her usefulness, but for her essence. Because after decades of being valued for what she provides, what she craves most now is to be valued for who she is. 2. The curiosity practice. Once a day, ask her a question you've never asked before. What's something you've been thinking about lately? What's one thing you wish I understood better about you? If you could reinvent one part of your life right now, what would it be? And then, just listen. Don't fix, don't interrupt, don't defend. Let her reveal herself, even if it surprises you, especially if it does. This is how you fall in love again. Not by recreating the past, but by rediscovering who she's becoming now. She's not asking for everything. She's asking to be seen. If you've made it this far, let's take a breath together. Because what you've just heard isn't about blame. It's about truth. And not the kind that ends things, the kind that has the power to begin something new. Too often, we treat aging marriages like they're winding down, like everything meaningful has already happened, and what's left is just habit and history. But that's not what this is. This is a moment of reinvention. It's not the end of your story, unless you stop showing up. To the husbands watching, you're not too late. You're only too late if you do nothing. You don't need to go back in time. You need to show up now, with curiosity, with presence, with courage. To the women who've held it together for decades, you're not wrong for wanting more. You're not selfish. You're not cold. You're awake. And that awakening is not a threat. It's a beginning. Grieve the old version of your marriage. Honor it for what it was. Then start building something new. Something more honest, more equal, more human. Because the couples who make it through their 70s and beyond aren't the ones who keep pretending. They're the ones who pause, listen, and choose each other again with open eyes. If this spoke to you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or even just curious, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more conversations that matter. And in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. What part of this message felt most true in your own life? You can share it in the comments. Your story could be the one that helps someone else feel less alone.